What's going on, guys, and welcome back to WrestleRant, where every single week I, Graham, Gius, and Matthews break down all the pay-per-views that I watch on the WWE Network and the Global Wrestling Network. Today we're talking Battleground 2017, widely regarded as one of the worst WWE pay-per-views. If not of all time, probably in the last 10 years. Easily. I think I definitely made a list of like my worst or least favorite pay-per-views since I've been a fan. I might have made that video here on the channel before this pay-per-view happened. This would be up there as leading the list, or one of the top 3 choices, because this show sucked. Up and down, sucked. Oh my god. And the worst thing was that the build was so bad that you would think that it would somehow exceed expectations, if only by being passable. If this was a passable pay-per-view, I would have been content. I would have felt satisfied because the build sucked. They gave you no reason to look forward to this show whatsoever. The kickoff real quick saw Aiden English knock off Ty Dillinger. For what reason, I have no fucking clue. Because they did nothing with Aiden English, so I don't know why they had him be Ty Dillinger, who was on a roll at this point, but whatever. To kick off the actual show, we had our best match, only good match really of the entire night. Nothing else in the show I would constitute as good, let alone great. This was an awesome match, and it was easily all downhill from here. SmackDown Tag Team titles, the Usos, the defending champions, taking on the New Day in a rematch from Money in the Bank. Like I talked about last week here on the show, my Hell in a Cell review, the blow-off to the feud was amazing. The Money in the Bank match, even though it ended on a DQ, was very good. The SummerSlam match was awesome. The SmackDown match they had in September was awesome. This was no exception. This match was excellent. They got plenty of time, about 14-15 minutes, if that. Just all pure excitement from start to finish. The crowd was into this. They were white hot for everything all 4 of these guys did. It was Kofi and Xavier. No Big E. He sat out on the sidelines. No Big E here. It was the Usos taking on Kingston and Woods. And just a lot of great moments. Like, there was one point when Woods went for the elbow off the top rope, like when he shoots himself off the top rope to like the other side of the ring. He went for that, and out of fucking nowhere, and maybe he was standing there the entire time and the camera just didn't pick it up. I don't know, but the camera angle was great. And we all shit on Kevin Dunn a lot, but he deserves credit for that spot because he's the one in charge of it. So Xavier went for that elbow, and I forgot whether it was Jimmy or Jay, one of the two. They had a super kick on Xavier out of nowhere. That was an awesome spot. I think there was another moment where, like, they hit their finisher and they kicked out. Like, that was pretty cool, too. There were a lot of moments in this match where there were kickouts and all this other stuff. It was fucking great, like I said. Just really exciting stuff here. All 4 guys really putting forth an amazing effort, and it paid off in what was a phenomenal match. So in the end, Kofi hits the Trouble in Paradise on one of the Usos. Xavier follows up with the aforementioned elbow off the top rope to the other side of the ring, which was super impressive, to get the 1-2-3 and the SmackDown Tag Team titles, in the process becoming the first tandem to win both the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Championships. Now, technically, it was the Usos because they were former WWE Tag Team Champions, but which hold the same lineage for those keeping track at home as the Raw Tag Team titles, but I guess they meant the Raw Tag Team Championship since the institution of the second brand split. So in that case, yes, the New Day became the first tandem to win both belts. Yeah, great stuff there. I thought this was an amazing way to open the show. Gave me false hope that we were about to watch a great show. Unfortunately, we were not, and the show sucked. But at least we had one great match to idolize, to, admire from this event. We had Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Baron Corbin up next. This was a nothing match. They had a much better match on SmackDown 2 days later. This was really not good at all. They just lacked chemistry. There was nothing going on here. Corbin was on offense. No one gave a shit. The feud was barely non-existent. No one really cared about the feud at all. Corbin in the end getting just low-blowing Nakamura out of nowhere for a dumbass DQ finish. The crowd booed, not because Nakamura got low-blowed, but because they were hoping for something more decisive. But again, I get it. You want to protect Baron. You want to protect Nakamura, not have him lose his first singles match. Since arriving on the main roster. So I get it. You have him get DQ'd. Baron Corbin, that is. I get it. He laid out Nakamura afterwards, and just, I don't know. This really did nothing for me at all. Just a very dull match. We had a fatal 5-way elimination match to determine the new number 1 contender to the SmackDown Women's Championship, to Naomi at SummerSlam. Now, Naomi's reign really was a letdown. I thought she had a good reign, but she never really had a definitive rival. Like, she beat Alexa Bliss for the belt in that multi-women match at WrestleMania. That was another thing, too. We had multi-women match after fucking multi-women matches on these pay-per-views. We had the 6-woman tag team match at Backlash. We had the fucking 4-woman or 5-woman Money in the Bank ladder match and Money in the Bank. We had Naomi and Lana on that show, too, but it went all of 5 minutes and it sucked. And then you have another fatal 5-way match on this very same show. So, the outcome I didn't really agree with. Natalya getting a last hurrah by beating Naomi at SummerSlam and winning here. I really didn't care. She really did nothing and still does nothing for me personally. Maybe 5, 6, 10 years ago, but not in 2017, 2018. So she won here after Lana was eliminated, then Tamina, then Becky, and then Charlotte. I really thought Charlotte would win. I know we talk about now, Charlotte being shoved down our throats, which I kind of agree with to an extent. But at least at that point, she would have been a better rival for Naomi at SummerSlam. They were both baby faces, mind you, but they still had unfinished business from a few months earlier when Charlotte went for the belt on SmackDown. It was interrupted. It made sense to put the belt, or at least have Charlotte challenge for the championship, and not Natalya, but the match itself was completely forgettable. The eliminations meant nothing. This match was just kind of there, and that was it. I should mention this too. Also in the show, we were promised to get the reveal of who was attacking Breezango so many times. Who was 2B? Well, we never ended up finding out who 2B was. It was revealed months later in a throwaway.com video that it was the Bludgeon Brothers. It was pretty obvious that it was the Bludgeon Brothers. The Ascension teased that it was them multiple times. It wasn't them. We had a few segments with Breezango on the show, like the pre-taped Fashion File segments. They were entertaining, but it was a waste of time because we never found out who attacked the team of Breezango. They attacked them again backstage, but it wasn't revealed. So again, it was pretty obvious that it was Harper and Rowan. That was the big tease on social media and on the dirt sheets that it would be the Bludgeon Brothers. Otherwise known, they weren't known as the Bludgeon Brothers at that point, but they were known as Harper and Rowan. It was pretty obvious that it was them because they were off TV for months, dating back to May or June. But still, I think we all hoped for the payoff on this show. We didn't get it, so that was kind of a letdown, kind of false advertising. For the United States Championship, a match I thought would salvage this show, but it was easily the worst encounter these two had in the entire course of their feud last year. AJ Styles and Kevin Owens. This was really a letdown of a match. Very disappointing. It was well wrestled, I guess. They got plenty of time, but none of it was exciting. It really never left that first gear. It was just kind of there, and then it ended abruptly, with Owens rolling up AJ, kind of tipping him on his shoulders, and the crowd, or the referee counting to 3 rather. I'm talking about the crowd here. The crowd didn't care. The referee counted to 3 very slowly, and Owens, in confusing fashion, became the new champion, even though AJ's shoulders were not down on the mat. I think it was later revealed that it was a botched finish. I think even AJ or Owens said that in an interview later on, that it was a botched finish. The match sucked. It was really not that good at all, and just a weird-ass outcome. So, again, very strange match. Owens and AJ have always worked well together. They've had, some matches are better than others, but this was nowhere near as good as their match from Backlash 2 months earlier. This was kind of a bore. John Cena and Rusev fighting in a fucking flag match on the show. Yes, in 2017, having a flag match, this was awful. Dragged on and on and on and on and on for over 20 minutes. We had to sit back and watch these guys just trade moves in an attempt to grab a fucking flag. This was a waste of time. Now, it's one thing if you do it on the undercard with Rusev and Jack Swagger, like a la SummerSlam 2014. I thought that was decent. That feud made sense. Rusev and Cena, we had seen it before. No one cared. People knew Cena was winning. Then who could possibly give a shit? The match sucked. Cena wins decisively, LOL, and that was it. What a waste of Rusev after him being gone for 3 or 4 months. He comes back to do absolutely nothing. So that was stupid. The match was a complete waste of time. Sami Zayn taking on Mike Kanellis up next. Mike Kanellis had been feuding with Sami in the build-up to the pay-per-view. He knocked off Sami on the SmackDown before the show, beating him in his in-ring debut on SmackDown. They had a rematch on this show. very mediocre. Nothing stood out as special about it. It wasn't offensively bad, but it was okay at best. And then Sami Zayn gets his win back, clean as a sheet, 1, 2, 3. Again, 50-50 booking. Huzzah! Does no one any favors. Ever. Ever. You win one, I win one. If it's done right, like with the Usos, that makes sense in the New Day. Not with these two. Because Sami Zayn wins here decisively. The feud is dropped after the next SmackDown. And no joke, I'm not sure if we saw Mike Kanellis after that. I think he had like 2 matches against Bobby Roode on SmackDown. But beyond that, the guy was persona non grata and has been ever since, and that was a year ago. That's pretty bad. This was the beginning of the end for Mike Kanellis in WWE. And he's still here, and I still think he can be something, but this was not a good match. It was fine. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't good. Definitely wasn't memorable, and had a bad outcome with Sami winning. I know Sami needed a win, but he also just beat Baron Corbin at Backlash 2 months earlier. I think Mike Kanellis needed the win way more than Sami did. So that was a disappointment. And then we get to the main event, which I can't say was a disappointment because I already knew it was going to be bad. It just really frustrated me how much time was wasted on this drizzling piece of shit. Between Randy Orton and the defending WWE Champion Jinder Mahal inside a Punjabi prison match. Now, people were joking coming out of Money in the Bank that, Mahal's beat Orton twice now. Time to, blow off the feud in some Punjabi prison, like jokingly. But no, WWE made that a reality and actually brought back the Punjabi prison for this show. There was a reason why it retired in the first place. That's all I'll say. That's not all I'll say, but I'm just saying, there's a reason why it retired in the first place. Because the gimmick sucked. It was confusing. And just convoluted and fucking stupid above all else. With the walls being lifted, and it's like you have to escape. How is that exciting? It's not exciting. The crowd didn't care. The only thing that came alive for was counting down before the little cage gates or whatever could be closed. That's it. Everything else was stupid. It dragged on forever. The match lasted almost a half an hour. Again, total waste of time. We still got fucking interference from the Singh brothers, which was worse than anything, because the whole point of the match was to eliminate interference from the Singh brothers, and they still got involved countless times. And the only thing that made this match bearable, which it wasn't bearable, but if there was any one thing to make it bearable, it would have been the spots that the Singh brothers took at the hands of Orton in the commentary tables. Now, I thought that was cool. But again, the same story for the Backlash match and for the Money in the Bank match. Nothing fucking changed. It was a match. That was it. This was awful. To put the cherry on top of how bad of a match and how bad of a pay-per-view this was, before Orton can climb out of the cage, which he very easily could have done before he got down to ringside, the Great Khali makes his triumphant return. Obviously, I say that sarcastically. Climbs up the cage, holds Orton in place, so Mahal can escape and win. Are you fucking kidding me? Again, when he heard the music, Orton was like, was he scared shitless? What the fuck? In the time that it took for Mahal, or rather Khali, to walk from the back to ringside and then climb up the cage, Orton could have won by that point, but he was too distracted by Khali coming out to do anything but just I can't even say sit there, but stand there and stare on the side of the cage. This was terrible. And even worse than that, and I'm complaining, but I'm not complaining because I would rather not him be brought back in a regular role, but Khali did not show up after this. Yes, he was in the Greatest Royal Rumble earlier this year, but in terms of the storyline, he interfered here and then left. We never saw Khali again. What the fuck? Why even bother bringing him back in the first place if you weren't going to pay that angle off? At least show Orton going to his house and kicking the shit out of Khali. Or something, or his wrestling school, which I know is ironic. Khali has a wrestling school, I know. But it's my God. What the fuck? Who came up with this shit? Who booked this shit? Who booked this shit? My God. This show was so fucking bad. And not only because of that atrocious main event, everything about the show was offensively bad for the most part. Overall, just bad booking, bad matches, confusing spots. Everything except the opener was the drizzling shits. So, if you couldn't already tell, Thank God the show is not being brought back. They have since done away with Battleground. Thank God. If you couldn't already tell, this is a unanimous thumbs down from me. You should not watch the show if only for historical significance, for how bad it is. If you want to laugh at how bad the show is, I guess. It's a waste of time. Over 3 hours, ran overtime, and still not a good show. So, again, do not, and I repeat, do not watch Battleground on the WWE Network, at least the 2017 edition. And it's weird because the 2016 show I thought was amazing. I loved Battleground 2016. And then we were given this pile of shit, and then they did away with the pay-per-view. So it ended on a real sour note, and I'm glad because I would rather never again have a pay-per-view like Battleground 2017. And that does it, guys. My rant of a review on Battleground 2017. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for checking out the video. I appreciate it. Like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. I will be back next week to talk about No Mercy 2017, so stay tuned for that right here on the channel by subscribing, like I said. In the meantime, and in between time, folks, have a great rest of your week. I'm Graham Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.